Hello, my name is Gavin Brown. I'm a freshman at Temple University's Fox School of Business. And a little bit about myself, I've always been a natural leader, and this is evident through my time in high school because I was the student government class president all 4 years, and even had the privilege of running and getting the role as executive council vice president my senior year. And this just shows how in high school I maintained this leadership position for all 4 years and was well respected by my peers and represented a class of over 300 people each and every year. My responsibilities in this role were planning different events like homecoming, prom, and fundraisers that our school would host every year. And this just shows how I had to not only lead a class, but I also had to build teams and work towards achieving a goal before a deadline. And this can be applicable to the business world. Another example of who I am as a person is through my sports career. On my club soccer team, I was the team captain of a team that was ranked 11th in the state and in the top 100 nationally. And this built my character extremely because it taught me how to become a team member and how to put my others before myself as being the team captain. And not only doing these extracurricular activities and the sport, it also built me as a student because I learned to balance my workload and become a student athlete, maintaining a 4.3 weighted GPA throughout all 4 years, and being recognized as College Board as a AP scholar because I took over 12 AP classes and maintained an average score of above 3.5 on all these AP classes. And other than school-related activities, I also work during the summer, and I work at Julian Krinsky's summer camps and programs. And this job taught me many lifelong skills, including how to work with kids between the ages of 10 through 16. And this also taught me how to work with international students because all these kids I worked with were from 8 different countries and spoke 9 different languages. So this showed me and taught me the different skills I needed to communicate with people that not only spoke my language, but also 7 other languages. And this kind of applies to where I want to be in the future because I am hoping to be an international business student. And this communication skills will help me in the future because I'm hopefully working towards building relationships between different countries. And I know that is a hot topic because I recently read an article about this Hong Kong situation and how it's affecting the business world because the lack of freedom in speech and the Hong Kong protests are disrupting China's business process along with splitting it up. So this might help me in the future, and hopefully one day I can kind of work with different China businesses and kind of see where that brings me as a business professional. A significant accomplishment in my life is when I recently competed and won in the Professional Sales Organization's negotiation series. This was an in-house competition where I put into practice the 5-step sales process. Coming into Temple, I had little experience in the sales world, or I didn't even know what the 5-step sales process was, but after attending each and every one of their sales boot camps and the different meetings where I learned the 5-step sales process and listened to a bunch of business professionals from a plethora of different organizations and industries talk about what they do every day, I finally learned the skills required to compete in this negotiation series. After gaining this confidence, I volunteered to compete, and within 2 weeks I finally competed. In the week leading up to this competition, I met with my negotiation series coach, Patrick Donaher. For 6 days, we constantly practiced the 5-step sales process, and I learned tips and tricks from a seasoned veteran of these competitions. Patrick Donaher molded me into the competitor I was for the competition because he was my coach, and eventually I competed, and not only did I compete, I did win. In this negotiation series competition, there was 4 other competitors, two being seniors and 2 other freshmen. I won with a score of 8.91 out of 10, and this just shows how I can take what I've learned and apply it into the real world. And it also shows that my hard work in the week leading up to this paid off because I scored very, very nice, and not only that, but I also beat out the 4 other competitors. I'm glad to have competed in this competition because now I finally have the 5-step sales process ingrained into my brain, and I can apply this into the Fox Sales Challenge this winter and hopefully get a extremely good score and place in the top 8. Something that I recently learned in the classroom that really stuck with me was Tuckman's model for team development. In this model, it kind of lays out how each team should function, and it kind of lays out an easy blueprint to how you can kind of make your own team function in the workplace. And it lays it out with only 5 steps. And these 5 steps are all pretty self-explanatory, but I'll kind of tell you a bit about each step. And the first step is called forming, and this is typically where the team gets together at let's say, to get food, or they just do something that's not considered work or business, and they get to know each other as people. And in this step, you don't have to talk about the task. You just have to get to know each other and begin to learn who each one of the people you're working with is as a person before you start brainstorming or working towards a task. And that leads me into the next step, which is storming. And in this step, you're working to develop ideas for the project you're about to do. And in this step, it's best to have high performance task conflict because you want to generate the best ideas and you do not want anybody taking charge, or you do not want any conflict that is negative and will hurt the efficiency of your team. And after your ideas are kind of flowing, it's good to establish norms, and this leads into the next step, which is called norming. And these norms kind of lay out what your team should see in the future. And a good example of this is if the meetings are mandatory, what each and individual team member is expected of, and kind of getting roles and positions for each member to kind of set your team up for success when you start working. And this next step is the working section because it's also called performing. And in this performing section, this is when your team finally takes what they've learned so far and kind of takes their positions and performs to accomplish the task at hand. And in this task, it's best that they all work together and kind of lay out the ground rules for this task, and they kind of start performing and start doing this task to their best ability in the team. And then after they perform as a team, the last step leads to adjourning, and this is where the group member is already set up for success, so they can leave the group and they don't have to be with their group members anymore, and they can still work and accomplish what they have to do for their role. And they don't have to be around their group member because the prior 4 steps have set them up for success. And this last step is very important because once a person is set up for success, they can adjourn from the group and continue to work on this task at hand. And if they can work on it alone, then the group, the 4 steps before this, has been successful because they can work towards completing the project without the help of their team.